So welcome to this How to Study seminar. So I'm Damian. I'm going to go through with you the first part, okay, which contains include how people actually learn. So before we can learn how you can be studying, we need to know how people actually learn. Then we'll talk about the importance of knowing what you need to know. Then the different learning styles for different people, studying methods that can be, memorization techniques, and then I'll summarize on all this. Then I will pass on to my colleague Walter to talk about next part, which is developing micro habits. Okay. So how people actually learn. So there's no way for us to impart knowledge directly from one person to another. Okay, you can't just send knowledge from a person to another. So the only way you can teach someone something is you can guide them. Okay, you can guide them to form the knowledge themselves. Because how we actually form knowledge is we link the new knowledge to the knowledge that we already know, to something that we have already known. So only by doing that, we develop the logic of the new knowledge. Okay, is by linking it to the knowledge that we already know. So the more linkage that we can form, the better it is for us to remember it. If we only form one linkage, only related to one situation, so it's harder for us to recall the memory. How we actually recall the memory is we link back the link back into the neural system. So all these linkage sends signals, we pull out the signals that has already been engraved into our brains, and turn it into our how do you call it, our actions or speech or movement and things like that. Okay, so the more linkage that we form, the easier it is for us to recall this signal, because there are many pathways for us to do that. Right? So that is how people actually learn. Okay, it's not by just purely engraving the new knowledge in, but to link it with what we already know. Yeah. So understanding this, it relates to the different techniques of studying. So the importance of knowing what we need to know. It's very important for us to know what we need to know before we actually try to study. Okay, because if we just blindly go into it, we just blindly go into studying, we waste a lot of time, because a lot of knowledge can overwhelm you, and also it is hard to remember every single thing. Yeah, it's almost impossible for you to just straight away study, let's say for exams, study the whole chapter and remember it straight away. It's very hard for anyone to do that. It's almost impossible. Of course, if you're a select few, you have photographic memory, things like that. Yeah, it's possible. But let's be honest, how many people are actually that gifted? Majority aren't. Okay. Yeah, I myself am not that capable. So it's very important to know what you need to know first. Then only we go into tackling all that we need to study for. Sorry, let me just start recording. Yeah, as I was saying, we need to know what we need. We need to know what we need to know. We need to know what we will be encountering, what knowledge we need to absorb. And as I said, in exams, by analyzing the past year questions, there's a way to spot what may or may not be asked. Okay. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of contents that we can more or less be able to see. Most likely examiners won't ask us this. So actually, by analyzing past year papers, if you have trouble analyzing it yourself, you can always ask someone who are the expert of the matter. So they may be able to help you on identifying them. So it's very important for us to know what we need to know before we actually start blindly going into studying. Okay, I myself has made this mistake in the past. Okay, back in school, I actually tried to just study, and to no surprise, it's not effective. It's not really effective, and there were a lot of times wasted, and there were honestly there were some results I didn't do well. Okay.
Teacher.
Yes.
Is it really time consuming?
If you study blindly, it's very time consuming. Okay. That's why it's very important for us to study smart. Okay. Important for us to know what we will be tested on so that we know what exactly we need to study, because there's no way for us to remember every single thing. Okay. There are certain things that are very likely needed for us to memorize. Okay. For example, even if you go for an interview, okay, what do you think the boss will ask you? Maybe certain numbers you may need to remember, certain statistics, like the growth of the company, how many percent growth or how many percent decline or how many employees there are in the company. These are certain things that you might want to know, might want to remember, because you expect the company to want you to know. So it's very important to know what is expected of you. Then you know what you need to memorize, what you need to understand, how you can go about tackling it. Okay. So don't just blindly go into studying. Think first. What exactly do you need to know? Then studying will be way more effective. Okay. Then we go into different techniques to study. So so there are different learning styles. Okay. There is the understanding method, there's the memorizing method. Okay. There is no one method that is better than the other. Okay, there's actually no one method that is better than the other. Both are equally as important. Of course, some people may excel better on understanding. Some people may excel better on memorizing. Okay, but you still cannot be overly dependent on one or the other. You still have to have both. Just that if your forte is memorizing, certain things, if you don't understand, it's okay not to understand. Try to rely on memorizing. If there are certain things that are really too hard, it's okay. Rely on understanding. If certain things you find it very hard to memorize, maybe you can try to understand it if understanding is your forte. So they are actually reliant on each other. To understand, actually, we need to memorize certain things as well. Okay, but naturally, as I mentioned in the first slide, how we develop knowledge is by forming a linkage in your brain. Okay, and that is how we remember things. The more links that we have, the better it is for us to remember, the better it is for us to understand. So how we learn? We can learn through visual, through auditory, through tactile. What does it mean? Visual, auditory, tactile. Visual is what we see. Okay. So there's drawings, there's photos, or we watch videos. So video will be a combination of auditory and visual, actually. So we can see and we can hear. Okay. So visual, yeah. So actually videos is actually a very good way for us to learn. That's why YouTube is so big today. There's almost nothing you cannot learn from YouTube these days. Yeah, it's really almost nothing that you cannot learn. So even if you want to say for a paper flower for your girlfriend or boyfriend, yeah, just search in YouTube. There's so many countless tutorials there. Or you want an effective way to make your bed, easily just go YouTube, search, easily you can find it. Yeah. So YouTube is a very good platform for us today. And also, of course, Google, you can search for anything lah. So you can rely on visual photos and videos that are available to you, but not just finding for these photos, finding for these videos. You can actually try to draw it yourself. Okay, if you think visual will help you, try to draw it up. Okay, or if you think auditory is easier for you to absorb, listen in class. Okay, listen from your friends. Try to ask your friends. Try to have them tell you the answer. Yeah, then that that may help us to absorb better if auditory is your preferred mode of receiving knowledge. So everyone is different. There's no one person that is the same. Some people they prefer visually, some people prefer through hearing, some people prefer through tactile, which is sense of touch, sense of actually doing it. So there are certain things maybe we can actually feel. Okay, maybe let's say some historical places in Malaysia. Okay, let's say history, you need to remember, but you can't really remember it. Let's say in Malacca. Go down to Malacca. Go down to Malacca, have a feel of it. Yeah, that can help you. Yeah, if that can help you in every single way, actually. Visual, you can see it visually. You can feel the actual item. Yeah, so these are things that you can rely on. Or even like physics, there are many experiments that you can try to do. Okay, like momentum, collision of car. Just use a toy car, try to do all this collision, yeah, and see what's the resulting force of the momentum and all that. These are things that you can do. Conduct experiments that will help you, yeah, that may help you to understand, to remember better as well. Yeah. So, yeah, that's auditory, visual, and tactile learning. Yeah. So what are different studying methods that we can do? So the most basic one, pay attention in class. You may think that it is not very useful and all that, but actually it goes a long way. Okay, paying attention in class actually goes a long way. Not because I'm a teacher. I'm not saying that because I'm a teacher, but paying attention in class and asking questions in class actually goes a long way. Okay, if you don't understand, ask. Yeah, ask and you will receive the answers that you need. If your teachers cannot answer you, or If you're really afraid of asking your teacher, it's okay. You have friends in your class. Ask your friends. Okay. And as a friend of those that are being asked question, respond. Teach your friends. Teaching is one of the most effective way of learning. Okay, teaching is actually one of the most effective way of learning. Once you teach, you actually realize things that you didn't realize you did not know before. Okay, you may realize things that you didn't even know you don't know before. You didn't realize you don't understand fully. But as you teach, then you realize, oh, actually, I couldn't even explain it well. Then maybe you try to look it up again and you try to explain again, then you have a deeper understanding. Or because you're trying to explain, so you start thinking in different ways that you haven't thought of before. And what does that create? Again, creates different linkage. Remember what I said in the start? The more linkage you have, the more you understand, the more you remember. So this triggers your thinking, triggers you to try to think in different perspective, relate in different perspective, which again helps your knowledge. Yeah. So teaching, and asking, one of the most major ways of learning. So some people may prefer learning in a group. Okay, that's where group study comes. It can be in the classroom setting. It can be just among a group of friends. You can ask them out, quiz each other, try to teach each other. You can segregate different chapters, and try to teach each other. It's actually a very effective way of studying, and it also saves time in a sense, because everyone generally focus on one chapter, and they try to rely on other friends for others. And as you go on, then you realize maybe, why my friend can teach so effectively, but I feel like I'm not delivering very well. Then you start to exchange notes. Then you realize, actually I can make notes like this. Actually, I can draw up maybe some diagrams like this. So that's the benefit of group studying. But of course, some people don't do well in group studies. Okay, some people get easily distracted when they study with others. So that's where you can, then you can rely on self-study, it's fine. So the most common ones will be just reading and practicing. But if you just read and practice without any plan on how you are trying to tackle it, again, it's not going to be effective. Okay, it's not going to be effective. So again, it comes back to knowing what you need to know. That one is the prerequisite before you try to use all these methods of studying. You need to know what you need to know. Then it will be very effective for you to try to practice. Okay, read and then practice. Whether you try to do test papers, whether you try to quiz yourself, you can do block practice. What is block practice? Basically, you split parts of what you're studying into different blocks. Then you try to quiz yourself in this block, quiz yourself in this block, quiz yourself in this block. Once you develop a certain mastery about it, about the whole different blocks together, then you can jumble them up and quiz yourself again. That helps you to remember, because when you try to remember too many things at once, it usually gets overwhelming. So another thing you can try is make your own question and answer. You can actually try to make your own question and answer. When you are studying. So if you can develop your own questions and answer yourself, that shows that you have a certain mastery of the subject. Okay. If as you are trying to write out the question, then you feel like, I can't really, I can't really get the hang of how do I really write it out. Yeah, then you know you haven't developed a good enough mastery of the subject. So yeah, making your own question and answer is a good way to gauge and a good way to help you to get to a certain point of mastery. Okay. Then of course, if you're studying yourself, you should definitely create your own notes. Okay. Creating your own notes, it can be as simple as just highlighting the key points, okay, in the text that whether your tuition teacher gives you or your school teacher gives you in the notes or even in the textbook. Generally, I would say in the textbook is not really effective because there's too much content about it. So extract out the notes would be better. But if you're highlighting on the notes that your teachers gave you and all, then it can be effective Okay. You can add comments. Highlighting and adding comments would be the most basic of making notes. Okay. But there can be more effective notes making, which is paraphrasing and summarizing it. Means after you try to study, try to write out the notes for that part in your own words, okay, or in your own method. It doesn't even have to be in words. You can draw out in a diagram, okay. Then if relating back things like flashcards, you can relate back to your block practice. As you are doing block practice, you know what questions will come up, okay, what questions you are trying to answer. Make flashcards about it. Then you can quickly review, quickly try to answer, and flip through it basically. Okay, or you can do mind maps. You can draw out mind maps or flow charts, all these diagrams that shows how this relates to the next thing, this relates to the next thing. So all these are different methods that we can use to study. But again, none of this would be effective if you don't already know what to study about. Okay, you have to know what you want to know, then only all this will be effective to you. So when you want to memorize, okay, so there are certain things that definitely we know we want to memorize. So how we want to memorize, basically, the more basic ways of memorizing is using anagrams. Anagrams is like taking the first letter of each word, to form a word with a meaning, maybe. For example, do you know about like in maths, sine, cos, tangent, the 4 quadrants, ASTC? So in a lot of books I've seen, they like to use the anagram, all science teacher crazy. I would say all students talk crap. ASTC. So this anagram, you relate it with a sentence that is interesting to you, that you think is easy for you to remember. That's how anagram works. Okay, so you can use visual aids as well. So a lot of times we can remember better if we see in picture form, in a photo form. So certain things yeah, you can basically use visual aids lah. Maybe you draw it out in a comic setting. Let's say a story, let's say a history. Draw your own comic, use Stickman or whatever. It's okay to draw it ugly. No one's gonna really read it, but you tell your own story. You just fill in your own dialogues and all that. You can do that. And in a picture form, it makes it much easier to remember. Yeah, you can use auditory aids as well. Means relate it with a certain sound. Okay, you can relate with a certain sound, and every time you remember that sound, you remember this one thing. So that is that is one type of memorizing technique as well. So there are other more creative techniques, okay, like creating stories about it, acting it out, or drawing it out. Like I said just now, drawing a comic about it. If it's, say, history, drawing a comic about it, or even if it's let's say physics, a certain phenomenon, okay, like the laws of conservation of energy. Okay, if you've seen before, there are like videos. If I release a pendulum here, it will never swing further than the starting point because you can't create extra energy. There's no way extra energy will come and you swing further than it already has. So you can draw a story about it, or you can act out a funny story about it. That, or maybe someone is pushing it, giving it an extra force, things like that. So these are all different techniques that you can actually try to actually do lah. Okay. So as a summary, okay, for my part, okay, there's no one best way to study. Okay, everyone absorbs information differently, and how effective each technique is, it really depends on the person. Okay, so try out different ways. Okay, try out different ways. Don't just blindly study. Try out different ways. You can even search for different ways, through YouTube, through Google, or if you want a more direct advice, you can ask your teachers. Any of your teachers or whoever you think has experience on studying and learning. Ask them. Okay, you can also contact me if you want extra tips and all. Okay, so again, I cannot emphasize more. You need to know. You need to first know what you need to be to actually know. Okay, then only you can figure out what's the best way to actually acquire that knowledge. Okay, so be clear about what exactly you need to absorb. Then only go about studying for it. Okay, so never blindly go into it. Okay, so okay, basically that is that is for my part. I will pass on to Walter for the next part, which is on developing microhabits now. So and the recording we will upload and I'll share the link to you all. We will share the link in the social pages. So yeah, so follow the social page, or you can follow Walter's social page, my social page also. We will share the link to the recording.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay. Thank you.
Walter's turn.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. All right. So, hey guys, thanks for dropping by. Actually, more people than we anticipated. All right, because we didn't know how many people would come, but then you're very sporting, okay? So you all came. All right. So anyway, just now Mr. Damian gave a very nice talk about the techniques of how you can actually utilize when it comes to prepare for your exams, whether for you to casually study at home. All right, and it was very comprehensive, okay. So for my part today, right, it's not so much of how to study. Mine is more towards like just now you learn how to do all this studying and stuff. For my part here is how to initiate the process. How do we start the how? Because you see, most students know most of the techniques of what Mr. Damian said just now, right? They will say, oh, okay, I know making notes is very important. I know that, through, like, for example, he said, you can learn anything literally from YouTube. But most of the time, right, the question is, when do you want to start? So in my particular talk, like my very short talk, not so long, but it's a very short and comprehensive part of developing micro habits. So let me explain to you what micro habits actually is, okay? Micro habits is more towards doing something small, but achieving something big. Meaning to say, right, you need to technically start the process of doing something before you achieve something great. Most of us will think like, okay, I want to achieve something, but we don't know where to start. And when it comes to when we want to execute it, then it becomes like, oh, okay, it's okay. Maybe I'm not cut out for it anymore. So this particular topic will sort of guide you, give you a very basic knowledge on how we can start to do the hows before we can achieve something bigger, okay? Okay, so first of all, right, most students will face this problem, including myself, okay? So most of you who know me, you all know what I do, because I'm also still studying technically, right? So when it comes to studies, it can also be sometimes I also have the habit of procrastination. Okay, this is a condition where I tell myself I want to do something, but then I'll say, okay later I do okay, later I do. And when the later comes, right, it will never come. It's like today I tell myself, okay, for example, okay, I go back home, I tell myself, today I want to water the plants, then I want to wash my clothes, then probably cook a very nice meal for myself, then I will enjoy the day, right? But it'll never happen. You know why? Because when I go back home, tired already. So I look at my flowers and say, hey, the flowers haven't died. Okay, it's okay, okay, tomorrow I'll water the plants. All right. Or maybe, for example, I want to cook, right? I take out all the ingredients already. Wow, so much things to do. Order Grab food, So it comes to a point where, right, when we set a goal, then eventually we don't do it because we always think, later still got chance. So that's what we call as procrastination. So it's the same thing as when we go and study. When we want to study, right? I mean, for those of you, some of you take 53, maybe, for example, some of you take maybe 6 subjects, 7 subjects. SPM even got more, right? SPM, maybe you got 10, 11 subjects. So now you tell yourself, right? This is what I always do last time. Okay, when I do this on SPM last time, right? I will tell myself, okay, I got 10 subjects to study. So maybe if I divide in 2 months, right? I got a lot of time, 2 months, a lot of time to study. But then every single day, I procrastinate. I tell myself, right, okay, tomorrow still got time. Today, maybe I do 1 subject first. Or I always set a very large goal and tell myself, okay, tomorrow, I want to sit at home the whole day and I'm going to study only. No one's going to distract me. But then the next day comes, right? The whole day I did nothing. Probably play my phone, play games, watch TV. This is what we do. This is what we call as procrastination, right? We always want to do something, but we never do. Okay, so the question is now, right? Why do we tend to procrastinate? As a human being, right? It doesn't matter how good you are, how smart you are, eventually, you will still procrastinate to a certain extent, okay? No matter how disciplined you are. Do you know why we always procrastinate? Because we got a lot of distractions. It's always like that one. All right. I ask my students constantly, I ask, okay, what is your biggest distraction at home? Then they will say things like, my mom watch drama, I cannot tahan, I also want to watch. You know, things like that. Or perhaps maybe, for example, my phone is glued to me. I cannot put down my phone. So there could be a lot of distraction, right? A lot of distraction that you can have. You can see this picture alone, you can see, right? All right, the book is right in front of you. You want to study. You know the exam is coming and it's very important. If you don't ace the exam, your parents are probably going to scold you. That's the common goal. That's a common idea that we have. But yet still, usually, we put the book in front. We never move past the first page also. All right, we often just read the first page, then we say, check my phone for a while. Birds singing outside. So there's a lot of things distracting us at the same time, right? You can hear a lot of things. You can see a lot of things around you. So in the end, you say, I got distracted. Let me start back from the first line again. Then you read again and again and again. You don't go anywhere. So there's a lot of distraction all around you. So the question now is, how do you actually move past these what's it called? Distractions. How do we actually use our mind to be more disciplined so that we can actually try to just focus on the things that we do? So the next step is actually to understand that we are all human beings. Okay? It is not something that's wrong. I would say most of the things that it's wrong for me to do this and that. No, it's just the human nature, right? The first thing that we do wrong in the first step is actually to set an unrealistic and unachievable goal. Like I said just now, right? I said that sometimes last time in my SPM days, I will tell myself, right, tomorrow is a holiday. I will sit down the whole day and study the whole day itself. But you ask yourself, is this realistic or not? Is it realistic for you to go and sit down at home the whole day and just study the whole day? Do nothing, no TV, no interaction with human beings. You lock yourself in the room. You only come out for lunch and dinner. Is that practical? It is not. In the end of the day, you will only demotivate yourself because you feel like it's a heavy burden. And then comes back to the first point, you'll procrastinate again because you cannot achieve it. You feel like this is something too heavy. Maybe I just shouldn't do it at all, right? So how do we use this technique of micro habit to help us to achieve, an easier way to study, right? First is to ask yourself, what do I want to achieve today? Or for that moment itself, that 1 hour, for example, what do I want to study? So say, for example, let's just say you want to do math, right? You do math. So sometimes people achieve it. They say, okay, I want to do math today. I want to finish this whole worksheet that I have. But then you see that you do halfway and it's like, so boring. That I don't want to do already. Then you leave it there. Same thing, procrastinate again. Or science, for example, right? You take a topic, you open up the book, you say, today I want to finish this whole chapter. Today, I want to finish this whole chapter. And then you read through halfway, you're like, so boring. Don't want, let me go outside for a while. Let me do this, let me do that. You get distracted again. Do you see? So the thing is, to use the micro habit technique is to first set very realistic goals, like very small and realistic goals, and achieve towards that first. For example, instead of studying the whole chapter, maybe you tell yourself, it is an achievement if I finish this one subtopic first. And because of that, right, when you finish that one subtopic and you have achieved that as a goal, you'll feel like, this is actually doable. This is something that we can achieve. Then only you will feel like, okay, if I start with one subtopic, maybe tomorrow I can do 2 subtopics, 3 subtopics, and so on. And it's not just for studying. It can be anything at all, at home also, right? I'll explain to you how my routine works on weekdays, okay? Weekend different, but weekdays, okay? So I wake up early in the morning. I wake up around 7 o'clock. I shower. I leave the house by 8, okay? Latest 8, sometimes 7:30. 8 o'clock is the latest. So I leave, I drive to work. I reach work around 8:30. Then after that, I reach my workplace. I will start to plan my work, all right? I'll do everything, right? Then go back home. But you see, when I go back home, right, I got a lot of things to do left. Right. So you see, I come after work, in the university, right? I come to Teliti, I teach class until 10 o'clock. Then I go back home, around 10:30 or 11 o'clock already, depending on whether I go out of supper or not. Okay. So when I reach back home around 11 o'clock, imagine, so tired already. Right? You leave house at 8 o'clock, you come back 11 o'clock. And then when you go back home, right, you still got a lot of chores to do. Things like washing clothes. All right. You have to sweep the floor because the floor is dirty. My dog poop already, I have to clean out some more. A lot of things going on, right? And then in the end of the day, you say, I'm so tired. I don't do it anymore. But what if I do things in batches, like in small things? Like for example, maybe today, I don't think of so many things. I just want to wash clothes. So I put the clothes in, I wash it, I hang the clothes, done. That's it for tonight. That's more achievable, isn't it? We set goals realistically in a small pace. So that at least, right, when we achieve that, we feel like, wow, it's okay, no? It's doable. Okay. Right? So why is this micro habit so effective? Because by Asma, right? Why do we use this technique? And why is it so effective to use this micro habits technique? Because when you achieve something small, you feel that it's very rewarding. It's like a feedback loop, we call them. All right. So you see, the first thing you see here is, right, is the habit, the triggering of habit. So say, for example, today I will say, all right, I want to study one subtopic only. So when I study one subtopic, I have no stress because my goal is set on that, finishing that one subtopic, then done already. So once you finish the one subtopic, for example, you understand everything fully. Then when it comes to the reward system, right, you realize that, wow, I actually understand this subtopic. Or for example, you're doing math question, right? When I was young, I don't really like math because I'm very bad at it, right? But whenever I successfully solve the question, I feel so happy, like the happiest person in the world, right? And that's very rewarding for me. And now, of course, I reward myself. Like, for example, I say if I solve one question, then maybe I get to play a game for 1 hour, kind of thing. So it's a reward system. So when you achieve something small and you reward yourself, you automatically develop the habit already. And then you feel like, okay, I can do this even further. I can take this into a next level, right? Then you start with 2 subtopics. Like I said, 2 subtopics, 3 subtopics. And slowly you will just keep on going on. Why? Because it becomes a habit already. You crave for that success. You crave for that, that micro achievements that you achieved. Then through that, you realize that your life has changed bit by bit, of course, right? So that's why I say you must set a very, a realistic goal, something where you have to achieve in a small scale before you can do something bigger. So you start small. Instead of doing something big, you start small. Not just studying, like I said, anything that you want to do. You want, like, for example, your mom say, hey, go and mow the lawn. All right, instead of mowing the whole lawn, maybe you tell mom, I'll do this section today. Tomorrow, I'll do the rest. So at least you finish the one section, then you finish it, you say, okay, I'm done ready for today. You at least you accomplish something. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, start small. Okay. All right. So how do we use these micro habit techniques to actually apply to your studies? Because now most of you are students, right? So you are going to use this technique for your studying, especially for SPM students who are going to take the SPM soon, right? There must be a way where you can apply this technique. So say, for example, most of you taking SPM, you still have time, I would say until February, right? So you have like probably 1.5 months left to, do your revision and stuff like that. So the question is now is, right, of course, time is limited, but you can still apply this technique. Now, how? So like I said, try small first, right? Instead of studying the whole chapter, we try one subtopic first, slowly. Then after that, when you do the finished subtopic, you ask yourself, I understand or not? No point doing the whole chapter, but I just read blindly. That's it. Right or not? I also can do that. My cousin can do that. So what do? We self-test. After doing one subtopic, we test ourselves and say, okay, if I get this score that I want, I have already understand this chapter fully already. So let's move on to the next chapter then, for example, So bit by bit, one step at a time. Instead of waiting for a suitable time, you make time to study. Because if you're going to wait for the suitable time, it will never come on, trust me. Because most of the time, we will always think like, okay, I'll wait till tonight. Okay, today, I think I want to go out with my friends first. And then maybe tonight, 8 o'clock, I come back home after dinner already. I'll start studying until 10 o'clock. Then you come back home 8 o'clock already, you feel so tired already, you eat so much carbs already, then you feel like you're very sleepy, you want to take a nap, for example. Then a lot of distraction one. So instead of giving excuses and say that, okay, I'm going to wait till tomorrow, or I'm going to wait till tonight before I study, instead of doing that, you should tell yourself, okay, I'm going to set this time. No one's going to distract me. I'm going to take 1 hour only for today. I wake up early in the morning, I will study. Then you make that time. You take that time, you study 1 hour without any distraction. Put your phone aside, put airplane mode, put inside the drawer and lock it up. Just 1 hour only. And then you study fully, you focus. And then once you finish 1 hour, you want to reward yourself with anything, you want to play games, you want to go out and jog, whatever lah, you can do that. That's how the reward system actually works, not the loop that I told you just now. All right. So instead of waiting for the suitable time, we actually make time to study. So next one will be, instead of following others, make your own flow. Just like Mr. Damian said just now, different people got different way or different style of studying, right? Like I told my students recently, some of you who attended my class, right, you all know, right? My way of studying during SPM days will be very unorthodox. All right. I will sleep at 8 o'clock at night after dinner. I'll sleep at 8 o'clock at night. I'll wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to study. All right. And then I'll study until 5 a.m. in the morning. Then I go back to sleep again for a few hours. Then I go back to school. That's my routine. That's how weird it is, but it works for me, right? Also, I like to listen to soft music when I study, like orchestra and symphonies. Nobody's singing one, no lyrics. It's just music, soft music in the background. I feel like it can actually help me to focus better. But some people tell me that I cannot on the music, how to study, cannot focus. So like I said, it's not for everyone. It works for me, but it doesn't work for you. It's okay. So different people got different style, different type of techniques to study, isn't it? So instead of following what other people tell you to do, make your own flow, do your own thing. Don't have to listen to others one. All right. And the fourth one, do light exercises. And this is something that I don't do, but I find it very effective sometimes when I try to do it, because my friends told me, in order for you to focus in your work, what you should do is you should just once in a while stand up and maybe walk around the room, or maybe just stretch yourself, do some light exercise. Not the senam aerobic kind, not to go outside and jog. No need. You just stay in your same place in the room, right? Maybe just do some stretches and whatnot. Somehow it makes you more alert than rather than sitting down the whole time and just studying. It doesn't work like that, right? So do light exercises, right? Stretch a bit. Go out for a short walk around your office area. That's how I do that normally. All right. Then after that, come back, you feel more refreshed. Then you can start your routine again, right? That's how we do it. And of course, we have the last one, which is the most important one. Once you start that micro habit, you cannot stop. Because if you stop, disaster happens. When you stop, you go back to square one already. Why? Because you start to procrastinate again. When you do that micro habit technique, when you start that routine already, you shouldn't stop. Because why? It's like developing a normal habit already. Normal habit is like, for example, I have the habit of cleaning my face using my shirt. Right? When I'm sweaty, I clean my shirt. That's a habit. It's a reflex system. You cannot avoid it one sometimes, right? That's the large habit already. Right? So, but why is it that automatically whenever I sweat, I'll use my shirt? Because I've been doing it my whole life since I was young. So that's the large habit already. So if you're going to do it, you're going to be consistent. So if you want to start studying, you tell myself today, every day. So for example, I set a goal every single day at 8 o'clock after my dinner, I will study for 15 minutes or half an hour. So no matter what happens, even if the sky falls, you stick to that plan. 8 o'clock sharp, I will study for 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, up to you, whichever you can. And then do it consistently. And once you do it consistently, right, you will feel like it's not a burden anymore. It is not something that I force myself to do, but it comes naturally already. Like automatically after dinner, it's like, okay, mom, dad, I'm going to go upstairs and study myself. 1 hour, no distraction, for example. That's how we develop micro habits. You have to be consistent to the point where you don't feel like it's something that you want to do anymore. It's something like a reflex already. I do it automatically, not by force anymore. Of course, the first few times it's like forcing yourself, definitely one. Nobody develops a habit overnight, right? It takes time. That's why I say you have to be consistent. You have to have the self-discipline to tell yourself, I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it every single day. Maybe it'll take a week. Maybe it'll take a month. Sometimes it'll take half a year to do that habit. But different people got different pace, right? Not everyone will have the same, everyone will have the same idea, ways of doing this, okay? It's all entirely up to you, okay? And lastly, okay, so after talking about all these micro techniques, how to do all this CD, right? At the end of the day, right, I want you to understand that when you learn something, it is not a competition. All right. I see a lot of you are very competitive. It's okay. It's okay to be healthily competitive. Healthy competition is like, for example, I want to achieve something, but not to show off. It's a self-achievement. I feel like when I achieve this, I feel very happy. That's healthy. Unhealthy means, for example, wow, I see my friend there. wow, we show off 100%. No, cannot tahan. No, cannot. That's unhealthy really, right? So always know that learning is a process. It doesn't mean that you cannot do, say, for example, a math question today means 10 years from now, you won't be able to do it also. It doesn't mean that I cannot understand this theory right now, means I'm forever stupid. No, you're not. People learn things in different ways. And also it takes time for you to learn. Some people can catch it very fast, of course, but not everyone can catch it the same pace, man. And also everyone has their own talents. You know what I mean? Maybe, for example, like Mr. Damian is good in math. I'm bad in math. I'm just going to tell you straight, I'm very bad in math, right? But maybe I'm better in science. So that's why we have our own, I would say, advantages and also disadvantages. But it's okay. All you have to know is, no matter what you do, right, at the end of the day, right, it comes back to whether you are satisfied with yourself or not. Don't compare yourself with others, right? Compare yourself with your yesterday. You ask yourself, if today I achieve 1% better than yesterday, that's an achievement already. You don't have to say, for example, oh, I must be 10%, 100%, 200% better than yesterday. No. If you achieve that 1% greater than yesterday, you've already improved already. So don't beat yourself. You should pat yourself in the back and say, I've done well. Because learning is a process, not a destination. You know, it's a journey. You should enjoy it. If you don't enjoy, do it for what? No, you do better. Right? That's my point. All right. So I hope all these techniques that we explained to you will be a help to you, you know, not just in terms of your study, maybe as an individual also. Because, you know, after all, some of you in PT3 and you learn PT3D, you still got SPM to cover. After SPM, you're not safe yet, you know. You still got university, you got pre-U, you got university, and the nightmare comes when you start working. Right? So everything, life is a journey by itself. Make sure you enjoy it. Choose something that you like to do. That's what my parents always tell me, hey, become doctor, or become lawyer or engineer. Then I think cannot. No, choose something that you like. Let me end my talk with something inspirational. Okay. I know there are parents here also, so try not to kill me at the end. So I'm going to tell you a story about a student I have several years ago. I want it to be an inspiration, not to just students, but parents as well. Okay. And not mistaken, this is about 4 years ago. I have a general science student who take general science at SPM. Okay. The mom, I'm not going to say who is it, but there's this student, but the mom wants him to take up law. Said already, no, since last time, law or nothing, law or go and work at McDonald's, for example. Okay. And he was very depressed. You know, towards the XPM time, right, he came to me and talked to me personally after class. He sat down with me and he said, I want to ask you for an advice. So I said, okay, what was going on? He said he wanted to do something that he's passionate about. He wants to take this course in 3D KDU. And then I said, what course is that? He said, game development. All right, software and game development. And I said, do lah. What are you asking for advice for? He said his mom doesn't allow him to do so. He had a very big fight with the mom, and he told the mom about it, and the mom furiously told him no. So he said, from the start, I already said this, you have to take up law. Law or nothing. And he was very depressed. You could see his face. He was so downcast. He's asking me for advice. And I'm like, I'm not your parent. I cannot make a decision for you. But if you want my advice, I told him, do something that you like. Because you will stick to it for the rest of your life, you know. Don't forget about that. So I told him, the best way now is to go and convince your mom. Right? The best way is to go convince your mom and tell your mom why you want to do this and why is it so important to you. And he did. And after weeks and months of discussion and trying to persuade his mom, in the end, the mom supported him and let him do game development. Okay. And this is not the greatest part. The greatest part is he went for the course, he finished the course, and now he's working for one of the very prestigious gaming company to do gaming and software development. He's very happy. I've been following him on Instagram. I see how happy he is just to play games with friends, to discuss ideas and things like that. I say I cannot disclose the information, right? It's not good. But I'm telling you, this is a true story, okay? Now, parents, before you go attack me and say, why you tell my son and my daughter, they will also do this to me. No, you have to understand, like my mom wanted me to be either a dermatologist or I take up law, okay? That's it. Okay, that was 2 choices that I gave her. And I bargained with her, I told her, let me choose a field in science that I like. If you want me to do science so much, I will do science, but let me choose something that I like. I did my own research. And for the past 10 years, I'm a microbiologist. I love microbes. I mean, in a good way. I love microbes. I like to study germs. And that's my passion, right? So I would say, if there's any parent out here, listen to your kid a bit. You know, I know sometimes kids can be quite unreasonable. I can be quite unreasonable last time. But try to understand how they feel. And at the end, when they want to pick something that they like to do, you know, I'd say you should be supportive of them. Okay, of course, you should be the guide. All right, don't tell me of course they say, Dad, I love to work in McDonald's for the rest of my life. And you say, okay lah, you know, no, of course not. You should give them advice and you should guide them. But, you know, sometimes you should let them choose something they like to do, because really, if you don't choose the things that you like to do yourself, you have to stick to it for the rest of your life. You'll be very depressed. Very fortunately, I chose the right field, so I like it so much. So I'm just gonna stick to it. All right, but you know, yeah, that's my advice for okay. Right. So I hope this talk will really help you lah. So I'm gonna pass the mic back to Damian and see what's the next step. Right. So thanks guys for listening and also for coming. It really means a lot for us. Right.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, our talk is pretty much done. So thank you for joining us today. If you like our talk, support us, follow our IG, follow our socials. Our IG, I just put in the chat at Damian Mats and at Walks Kimia. If you are interested to know more about us or even our center, Pusa Tuition 30, you can contact us. Or if you want more tips and all that, or you need advice further down, if you're studying halfway, you feel like certain things you need some advice, or even in life, like Walter said just now, there were students who came back and asked him for advice. But I want to study this, but my parents say otherwise. You can always come to us. Then if you need us to help us to talk to your parents, we would be glad to help you on your journey as well. So feel free to contact us, keep in touch. If you finish school, keep in touch. If you're still in school, interested, join us. And thank you all for coming, parents and students. So basically that will be all. If you all have any questions, you all can ask. I'll give you a minute. If in a minute no one asks any questions, then we will end the session.
How to find what I'm interested in?
How to find what I'm interested in? Try different things. Really, try different things. Try out all kinds of different things. Try to read up. You will end up seeing, why am I studying more about this thing? Why do I tend to read articles, or why do I tend to read more, watch more videos about this thing? You will be able to find it, or do different things, or maybe you do something, you end up enjoying. So try different things. So view on trendy learning methods. Blurting method. I actually do not know what is the blurting method. May I know what's the blurting method?
It's where like you correct
you know.
info.
Okay.
You take out a piece of blank paper and you just write down all the info you.
It may or may not work. All these very trendy things may or may not work. It's
older people,
really may or may not work. I've never heard before, but honestly, to me, it doesn't sound very effective. How to be maths and science? Wow. Study. Join our class, and even if you join our class and you don't study, I'll be frank with you. If you join, and you don't pay attention, don't study, there's nothing we can do. You need to help yourself before anyone can help you. But maths is mainly, I would say maths is mainly practice. Science is what? Understanding. More to understanding.
Not memorizing.
Of course, there are certain things you need to memorize. But like I said just now, There are things that you know you need to memorize, but so know what you need to memorize, then memorize that. Then those that you need to understand it.
How to be less careless.
How to be less careless? Practice. The more you practice, the more familiar it is, then you won't rush too much. When you have enough time to do your exams and you don't rush to do anything and you're confident, you tend to be less careless because you don't panic. Yeah, I've seen some students who normally can do, every time exam they do very badly because they panic. Thank you. So yeah. How to be confident during public speaking? Practice. It's really practice. I'm still shaking now, you know. I already practice. When I started, first time I go on stage and talk, wow, my heart beat like superb. Yeah, it's done. Yeah. If you have no questions, then you can go. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Right. If there's nothing, then thank you, everyone. Yeah. Enjoy your weekend. All right. Bye-bye.
This is usually where the news broadcast where they got random stuff and then people start the recording and YouTube.
I might upload in YouTube. But I'll update in socials.
Good guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, good night.
Bye. Okay. All right, we'll end the meeting. All right, bye-bye. It's okay, I guess.
Yeah.